Greetings to you. I'm Keith Massey. Learning new languages has infinitely enriched my life. In this video, I will share with you the story of how I first began learning languages and how, even if you thought you couldn't learn one, you really can if you decide you really want to. I have my PhD in Biblical Hebrew with a minor in Arabic from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I worked for 4 years after 9/11 as an Arabic linguist at the National Security Agency, during which time I was awarded the Global War on Terrorism Civilian Service Medal for service in Iraq in 2004. I am the author of Intermediate Arabic for Dummies and Arabic Character Writing for Dummies. I also speak Spanish and Romanian. I'm a Latin teacher in a public high school, and right now I'm learning Russian. But I will tell you this: I don't have a gift for languages. Instead, I learned over the years how to learn a language. I was not a good language student in high school. I remember my Latin teacher told me once that as long as I was not disruptive in class, I would get a C. She needed to keep the enrollment up, and so she couldn't afford to give me the grade I deserved. When I was about to start college, I learned that I could earn 4 retroactive credits for each year of my high school work. But to achieve this, I had to get a B or better in 5th semester Latin. This seemed something worth pursuing. The only problem was I had just been passed along in high school and I didn't really know any Latin at all. So, in the summer before I would begin as a freshman at the university, I did what anyone who wants to learn a language needs to do. And here is the first and most important point in language learning. I took personal responsibility for the fact that I didn't know Latin and that I wanted or even needed to learn it. Take personal responsibility for learning a language. I have met plenty of people over the years who tell me, for instance, that they don't know Spanish because they had bad Spanish teachers in high school. And here's the thing: if that's true, that only explains why they didn't know Spanish when they left school. You can blame your high school Spanish teachers for the rest of your life if you want, but guess what? It will still be you who wants to speak Spanish and can't do so. But as long as you accept that you are going to do certain things until you can speak or even just read that language at a functional level, you have taken the most important step towards success. Now, I had a reason I wanted to learn Latin, something I had not done in 4 years sitting in the high school classroom. If I pulled this off, if I got a B or better in 5th semester Latin, the university would give me 4 credits for each of those 4 years I studied that language in high school. 16 credits was an entire semester's worth. And that brings us to the second most important point for language learning success. Find your motivation. Your chances of successfully learning a language are dramatically improved if you have some strong motivation that underlies your attempt. I'm not going to lie to you because you deserve the truth. Between now and the time you do functionally speak that new language, there's going to be some hard work. And you need some motivating factor that compels you to start that work and then continue doing it. My motive for learning Latin was to get those retro credits. My motive for learning Romanian was to be able to speak with family and friends in my wife's native country. For every language I have successfully learned, I had some driving force that got me through the times when the outcome didn't seem to be coming along as quickly as I had hoped. Now, I'm going to bet if you have watched my video this far, you must want to learn a new language. And I would tell you that if you don't already have some important motivation, the world a new language can open up to you is motivation enough. Choose some short-term goal in the language and let achieving that be your motivation for the time being. Let your motivation evolve as you go. But when you sit down to study, you need something to drive you forward, some reason why you are going to do this work, because this work is going to be hard. Back to the summer in which I needed to learn Latin. I went to the library and checked out some Latin textbooks. Now, keep in mind, I was doing this in 1984. Today, you have available to you on the internet every imaginable resource for learning a language. And the fact that the entire universe of information is at your fingertips, and yet people still wish they spoke a language and don't, shows you that the availability of the resources themselves is not what is holding people back. So, I had gotten some books and I was trying to study from them when, on Friday, June 22nd, 1984, something happened that changed my approach. The original Karate Kid was released, and I saw it in the theater within a week of its release. And the movie inspired me so much because it was the story of what I was trying to achieve with Latin. Daniel LaRusso goes from knowing no karate, but then with the help of Mr. Miyagi, he beats his nemesis, Johnny Lawrence, in the All-Valley tournament. This would seem just as improbable an outcome as a kid who slacked off all of high school Latin getting a B in 5th semester at the university. So, how did he do this? Simple. Mr. Miyagi gave him a deep foundation in utter fundamentals. And so, I decided to apply this concept to my continuing Latin studies for that summer. I did the equivalent with Latin learning of wax on, wax off. I did not rush through my books. I completely mastered the material of the first chapter of each of the books I had checked out before moving on to the next chapter. I mastered the material by writing it all out by hand and drilling it over and over again. When I thought I knew it, I kept studying it anyway. And so this brings me to my final point in this video of language learning advice. Utterly master the basics. And here is where many of the Teach Yourself a Language books are not very helpful. Even worse are most of the textbooks being used in high schools. The early chapters sometimes include things that really don't ever have to be learned at all, let alone be studied in the first few months. In the info section of this video, I have a link to a page on my website in which I will point you to specific products that I do recommend for specific languages. The page also includes free resources I have created and offer you for learning basic to intermediate Spanish, Arabic, Romanian, or Latin. My overall point is, get materials that contain a basic level of the language and master that. What are the 10 most common words in a language? Learn those first. As you move on to 11 through 20, you aren't done with 1 through 10. You never stop studying and drilling the earlier basics as you progress and add to your language. Back to 1984. The semester began. It wasn't easy, and even as I did the regular coursework, I continued studying the basics and the fundamentals as I had done all summer. I got an A in that course. I got my retro credits. The classics department at the university offered me a scholarship if I would declare a classics major, which I accepted and did, and that would propel me along the path to where my life is now. What I had accomplished that summer and that first semester was that I had learned how to learn a language. Doing a classics major meant beginning the study of classical Greek. Even though I took a university class to learn the language, I applied the techniques I describe here alongside the regular coursework. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 3.5 years because those 16 retro credits were incorporated into my classics major. Before I got my BA, I had begun to study biblical Hebrew at the university. I would eventually graduate with my PhD from that school in biblical Hebrew with a minor in Arabic. Using the methods I describe in this video, I taught myself Spanish simply because, well, Spanish is a very important language and valuable to know. I learned Romanian, as I said earlier, because of my wife. In another video, I will describe the practical techniques that have worked very well for me in learning a language. Things like how often to study and what specific methods are effective. I would love to hear about your adventures in learning a new language. Message or email me through the contact information on my website. I close with a wonderful Arabic proverb. Lisan jadid, insan jadid. A new language is a new person. Be well.